It ain't just week 10 in the NFL. The Eagles aren't just 6-2. The Dallas Cowboys aren't just 3-5. In total, it is, all in all, Cowboy Week. And we're coming to you live from Parx Casino in Ben Salem, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia. And as every Eagles fan does, and every Eagles player does, it's a little something extra during Cowboy Week. So not only this week are we joined by the great Seth Joyner, Derrick Gunn, but, of course, the Hall of Famer himself, not just Seth Joyner, Ray Didinger joins us on the panel today.
Real Hall of Fame.
How about that? We're absolutely thrilled to have you here, Ray. It's an absolute honor to have you on the panel with us. And let's open it up with this. The Eagles sit here at 6-2, going into this Cowboy Week here in Week 10. What have you made so far of this Eagles season?
I think this is a really pivotal week, Mark, when I look at this. I mean, you think about the way this Eagles season has unfolded. They're 2-2 after the Tampa Bay game, and everybody wonders what direction you're going in. I mean, there were a lot of people thought this team was going straight downhill, but they went on the bye week, they came back, and they really have been a different team. They haven't been making mistakes on offense. They haven't been turning the ball over. The quarterback is playing great for the last 4 games. And the defense, which after the Tampa Bay game was ranked 21st in the league, has now worked its way up to being number 3. So right now they're playing really good football, and I know a lot of people are counting the Cowboys out, but listen, I've been watching Eagles-Cowboys football for too long to take anything for granted. The Eagles are going to have to go down there and earn this, baby, and then they got to get ready to play an even bigger game, if you can think about that. I mean, the Washington game is probably even a bigger game in the grand scheme of things, and you got to play that one on Thursday night. So got to take care of business today, and then get ready to play Washington on Thursday night.
Yeah, it's why they play the game, as they always say. Mm-hmm. Seth, I mean, I know you look at this game, and I think most of us are confident the Eagles should come away with a victory today. But, yes, you can't take it for granted. What are you looking for in today's game?
Well, I'm looking for the Eagles to put together finally the type of game where it's stress-free. This is a football team that the Eagles should handle pretty darn easily. But every week is something. Last week, it was the decision-making of the head coach that made the game, in my opinion, closer than it needed to be. Hopefully that's not the case today. I would really like for the Eagles to go out and dominate this game from the beginning. They finally got off the snide last week. They scored for the first time in the first quarter. Great. Let's go out, let's do it again, but let's do it 2 or 3 times in the first quarter so that when we get to the third quarter, we can sit Saquon down, we can sit A.J. Brown down and rest that, ankle or hammy, whatever it is. We can set Jalen down, let Kenny Pickett come in and get some reps. I'd like to just see a complete game. We have yet to see the complete dominance on both sides of the ball in the same game. And, they've been working up to this point. Coming out of the bye, I said baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. Well, today is the type of game where they can take, a little bit of a jog. They can break out into a jog out of these baby steps, and really they should dominate and win this game in an amazing fashion, in my opinion.
And Gunner, well, we've talked about the recent games here with the Eagles. We have talked about get-right games. We have talked about those baby steps that Seth was just talking about. But how do you not look past a game like this, albeit the Cowboys knowing that there's a huge Commanders game coming up Thursday night as well? And we talked about it when it came to the Jaguars. How do you not do the same thing against the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, it's the onus is on the coaching staff to make sure they're harping it into the players' head each and every day. Do not look past this team. You go back to what happened last week against Jacksonville. They were up by, 22 points? And all of a sudden, it became too close of a game. Now, Dallas comes into this game without his $260 million quarterback, without his top cornerback in Deron Bland, and without the little scatback Deuce Vaughn. They're hurting. They're wounded right now, and they've been getting the doors blown off of them. But this is an NFC East divisional game number 1, and it's the Eagles-Cowboys. The key here is do not lose the mental focus in this game. Both of these teams coming in here average about 7 penalties a game. You cannot have 12, 15 penalties in a game like that. Those are the things that could possibly decide the outcome of a game. Do not let your emotions get the best of you, because the opposition is going to try to get inside your head at some point. They're going to hone in on some key players, and I mean both teams, and try to take them mentally out of a game. I've watched too many of these games between Eagles and Cowboys, and strange things happen, man. I go back to 2018. I'm sitting in a waiting room waiting for my grandson to be born, and I'm watching Eagles play the Cowboys, and it's in overtime down in Dallas. and the ball ricochets through Rasul Douglas's hands right to Amari Cooper, touchdown, game over. Crazy things happen between Eagles and Cowboys down in Dallas. Stay focused, keep your foot on the pedal. If you get up by double digits, don't let your foot up their necks like you did last week against Jacksonville and cruise to the finish line.
All right, real quick, Gunnar, I want to ask you this because it's injury related. When it comes to Jalen Hurts, supposedly had a day of rest earlier this week, which led to some speculation. Right. Anything to read in there, or are we all good when it comes to the Eagles quarterback?
Here's what I can tell you. Nobody's healthy at this point of a season, and veteran players do get their days of rest. Sirianni is good about giving his veteran players that day of rest. Okay, Jalen's a little nicked up, but not enough to worry about him coming out there and do what we've watched him do over the last 4 or 5 weeks. Jalen Hurts is ready to go. If nothing else, it's amazing how in a game of football, and Seth will tell you this, those little aches and pain, when that adrenaline rush gets going in a big game, all of a sudden you don't feel the little things that you hobble through all week long just to get ready for this game.
Fair enough. All right. Now, Seth, I know you touched on this. Ray, you touched on it as well, but I need to ask this question because I have a lot of confidence in the Eagles winning this football game. And looking at the last handful of games, I've had confidence that the Eagles would win. But when it comes to the idea of controlling a game from start to finish, or Seth, as you pointed it out, actually playing full 4 quarters of football, I think they're talented enough to do it. My biggest takeaway was the fact of last week, they have an extremely talented team that was able to overcome bad coaching decisions. The only thing, other than the turnovers or anything that could rear its ugly head today, the only thing I'm looking at that is a negative with this Eagles team taking on the Cowboys on the road, a place that they haven't won since 2017 when Carson Wentz was the quarterback and Kenyon Barner had a touchdown in the game. I look at this team, and the only thing I look at as a huge blemish is the coaching staff. But in particular, Nick Sirianni. How much of a concern is that going into a game like this?
Well, listen, if you're gonna call it that, then it's been a concern all season long. But what have they done over the last 4 weeks? They've been able to overcome the coach and win games. It shouldn't be that way. It really should be, the team is winning because of what the head coach is offering, what he's inputting into the team. They shouldn't have to win in spite of the team. But I think that, listen, you're not going to have a player that says that they disagree with what Nick Sirianni is doing, because that's just counterproductive to, the overall picture of team. So they're going to go along with it, but you can't tell me that some of the guys aren't wondering why aren't we taking points when there are points there to be had. So this very well could be another one of those games where the players have to overcome Nick all over again. But listen, the stats bear it out that the Eagles should dominate this football game. The Eagles are second in rushing in the National Football League. Dallas is 30th, okay? Now, the Eagles are 20th in passing, and that's because of the resurgence of the run game, and the Dallas Cowboys are 17th. So that tells us come out and run the football like you've been doing. On the other side of the ball, the Cowboys offense is ranked 31st in rush. The Eagles are ranked 5th. The Eagles have done a very good job of turning their season around statistically from a defensive position. Ray alluded to it earlier. They're now number 3. The number 3 ranked defense in the whole league. Who saw that after the first 4 weeks and the team was 2-2?
Right.
Hats off and a tip of the hat to Vic Fangio for getting things turned around. Against the pass, the Cowboys are averaging 254 yards per game. Now, to me, that's with Dak, okay? That's with Dak, and that's with a healthy CeeDee Lamb. The Eagles are ranked 17th. So there's some things there statistically that says that the things are in the Eagles' favor. The only way I can see this game going sideways, Ray, is for Jalen Hurts to have a reversion and start turning the ball over. Other than that, I can't see any other way. There's no reason why the Eagles shouldn't just go down there and just stomp a mud hole in this football team, because they are just a better football team.
I agree wholeheartedly, right? When you talk about the coaching aspect of it, though, and Nick Sirianni, you told us what you thought of this season so far. What do you make of the Eagles head coach and potentially taking away from his team's chances of winning a football game?
We certainly did last week, and I know what you guys were saying on the show, and you were 100% right in questioning his decision-making. I mean, that's a game that should have been put away, 3-touchdown lead at the end of 3 quarters, and the 4th quarter should have just been Gatorade on the bench time. And they turned it into a game they almost lost, purely because of the coaching. This is a game, and we're talking about coaching now, and I'll just boil this down to its simplest terms. if you just look at these two teams, where they are right now, the Eagles and the Cowboys, the Eagles have figured out a formula now over these last 4 games that works for them, that wins games for them, and that's run the football. I mean, right now, they have 70 more rushing attempts than passing attempts at this point. In a league that's trending a little bit more towards the run, nobody's running it more, and nobody's running it better than the Eagles are. So you go into this game against the 30th ranked run defense, everything tells you, let's just come out and run the ball and control the game. But here's the thing that worries me. It sounds like a good thing, but it worries me. This is going to be the first time that the Eagles have Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert all on the field for the first time since week 1. This is the first time they have their full complement of receivers back since week 1. To me, can the coaches contain themselves? Or all week they're thinking about, we got our receivers back, now we're going to open it up, we're going to start throwing the ball, when the formula that has gotten you to 6-2 has been the opposite, and it's been running the ball against a team that can't stop the run right now. So it's kind of, what do the stats tell you? What does common sense tell you, which is come out and run the ball today, versus, oh boy, we have all of our receivers, let's go have fun.
Oh boy.
I'll say this too. You know, the other thing that worries me, D-Gun, is the Eagles have a propensity for ignoring the obvious. Michael Parsons is back up today. I do not want to see Fred Johnson left one-on-one against Michael Parsons in obvious passing situations without some help on the edge. I just don't understand that sometimes. I get it. Every once in a while, you got to do it. But offset the back over there. Put the tight end over there. Chip on him. Do not leave him over there to disrupt the game by himself against Fred Johnson, because it's going to happen. I mean, that's something we have to really keep an eye on as this game progresses, especially if they get pass happy all over again.
Well, you know what, Seth? We were concerned about the same thing when Fred Johnson had to go up against Trey Hendrickson in Cincinnati. He did an outstanding job.
I agree.
Now, he had motivation there. Obviously, it was against a former team that gave up on him, and he held his own. But Michael Parsons is a different beast than Trey Hendrickson. And at the time, Hendrickson was number 4 in the league in sacks, and I believe he's number 1 or 2 right now. But you're right. You got to get some help on Parsons. Parsons been out 4 games. He is chomping at the bit to get back and help this defense change its complexion. They haven't had much of a pass rush without him. It's amazing how one guy makes that much of a difference in terms of getting pressure on a quarterback, because the offensive line has to have so much focus on where he is each and every play, which means somebody else now has one-on-one coverage more so than they're used to having. So now the Eagles in the past have done a great job on Michael Parsons. They're one of the few teams in the league that have been able to stonewall him time and time again. But you're talking about a desperate team, a wounded animal that knows that this is their season. They're sitting at 3-5. They lose this game, they can kiss this one goodbye, even though they know their franchise quarterback is not coming back for an extended period of time.
This is one thing that I would say in regards to Parsons. It's worth keeping your eye on. I was talking to a guy in Dallas this week, and Parsons is back practicing full. But the word down there is that he is going to be on a pitch count, for the lack of a better term. They're bringing him back. They want him back. They obviously need to improve the pass rush. But the thinking is, at least what they're saying is, that we're just going to use him in passing situations. We're going to use him as a third down kind of guy. Now, is that really going to be the truth? Or once the game starts, is Micah Parsons just going to say, no, I'm going in there, and he's going to play the whole game? Right now, everything they're saying is that we're going to limit his usage and just use him in pass rush situations. But with as desperate as they are right now, let's see what happens when the game starts.
You want to get Jerry on the phone real quick? Put him on a pitch count. You'll see.
Load management. That's what they're going to be going through in Dallas. When we come back, this Eagles team has obviously had a great turnaround over their last stretch of games here. What's the number one reason for it? We'll analyze that and get more into Eagles-Cowboys Week 10 in this Cowboy Week, 127th matchup during the regular season between these two clubs. That's when we return to the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky from Parx Casino, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia. There it is in all its glory. Parx Casino, over 3,200 slot machines.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them, sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
At Pond Lehocky Giordano, we understand the impact an injury can have on your life. Our experienced attorneys have recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we know we can do the same for you. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Did you know that Davis Honda will pay top dollar for your car? Go to DavisBuysCars.com and get an instant quote on your vehicle. We'll make the purchase as easy as possible and put cash in your hand faster than you can say DavisBuysCars.com.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
I'm in that mode. Stick to the code. I'm in my zone. Let's go. Let's go. I'm back in my bag. I'm wrecking the wins and it's making them.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by betPARX Casino and Sportsbook. And right now on the betPARX app, take a listen to this parlay you could have going on right now with your Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Cowboys. 425 kickoff. Saquon Barkley, anytime touchdown score. A.J. Brown, anytime touchdown score. Devontae Smith, anytime touchdown score. And the Eagles on the money line, a $10 bet, wins you $160. That's going off right now at +1. That sounds good, right? I think that sounds fantastic. Going off at +1,600.
I think I may need to run over and put me a little parlay in.
treat yourself, Seth. Treat yourself. We've talked about this Eagles team turning it around. You could look at turnovers. You could look at Saquon Barkley. You could look at just overall team management when at least you do have a head coach that's willing to listen to his own players. Ray, I'll ask you this question first. When it comes to this turnaround for the Eagles, how did it happen? Who do you credit the most for this Eagles team being able to turn around their season?
That's good. That's a really good question, Mark, because I think it's not as simple as just saying one person. I would give tremendous credit to Vic Fangio because I think he's done a great job bringing this defense from where it was 4 weeks into the season to where it is right now. I think everybody talks about a player has to learn the system that he's going to play, and every player has to learn the playbook. A player has to learn what his responsibilities are. Well, that actually works both ways. The coach also has to learn who his players are, and he has to learn what his players can do before he can ask them to do what he wants them to do. And I think that's what kind of happened. At the beginning of the season, the players were just kind of trying to figure it out, but Vic was also trying to figure out what they were capable of and what they could do. Now, at this point, he knows. I mean, he knows what Quinyon Mitchell can do. He knows really well what Cooper DeJean can do. He knows what his guys can do, and now he's putting them in position where they can really go out and make some plays. And that's why you see this defense right now looks entirely different than it did in week 4. So I think give credit to the players because they're making the plays. But I think Fangio has done a great job figuring out exactly what they are and then doing what good coaches do, which is play to their strength.
Gunnar, who would you give the most credit to for the Eagles turnaround?
It's a great question.
That's why I get paid the big bucks, friend.
I'm going to have to go with Vic Fangio and whatever problems they have with their defense. I mean, let's face it, in today's game, it's such an offensive-minded game that I think sometimes defensive personnel and defensive prowess gets overshadowed. But if you look at the last 4 weeks in particular, this defense has continuously gotten better and better each and every week. And the young players are now starting to play more like seasoned vets more so than inexperienced players. Fangio had to figure out his personnel, who he could trust in certain situations and who he can only put in certain situations. And it has worked like a charm up to this point. As we were just talking about, you look, they were in the bottom 10 basically in terms of defense. All of a sudden, they're a top 5 defense right now and still growing. They're still evolving. They're not a complete unit yet. The key is keeping these people healthy. Everybody's going to lose somebody along the way from this point on. If they can keep the multitude of these guys healthy, I'm excited to see what this defense can eventually look like when it comes to late December.
All right, 2 Vic Fangio votes right there. Seth Joyner, where are you going?
I'm going to give it to the players because, I'm of the opinion that the coaches can only move the chess pieces around the chessboard. They can't affect anything else other than that, because while the chess pieces are stationary, the players are the ones that come to life on the board to actually implement what it is that the coaches want to have done. So the players have to step up and get it done. Coaches can coach and teach and all of those types of things, but it's up to the players to go out and execute what you see happening on the field. I think Lane Johnson's voice around this football team has become louder and louder since we came back off of the bye. I think that's a major, major deal, because he and Jordan Mailata and some of the other guys went to Nick Sirianni and said, hey, we've got this Ferrari. We need to drive it in Saquon Barkley. There's no reason for us not to do that. We can dominate the line of scrimmage with this offensive line that we have. Nick Sirianni listened. They went out, and now they're the number 2 rushing team in the National Football League, probably just based off of the last 4 weeks. So while, listen, I tip my cap to Kellen Moore, because we've seen some things offensively the last 4 games that we hadn't seen the previous 4 games. Vic Fangio has done a phenomenal job of getting these young players to play at a high level and get the older guys to step their game up. But at the end of the day, and Nick Sirianni can motivate them with words, and euphemisms and all of this kind of stuff. But if the players don't go out there and execute the game plan that the coaches put in, it's all for naught.
Great points, and you mentioned Lane Johnson. I don't think he gets enough credit for almost being the assistant to the offensive coordinator. And that's how much he champions the run game for this Eagles team, especially when you talk about Saquon Barkley and his ability. But the guy I got to point at, it's Jalen Hurts. It's amazing what happens when you don't give opportunities to the opposing team the way Jalen Hurts was doing it, and at the alarming rate in which he was doing it when you talk about those turnovers. And now you're talking about 5 games without an interception, 4 games without an interception, 5 games not turning the football over. This is something absolutely spectacular that we're seeing from the quarterback. And what was one of the criticisms going into the offseason when it came to Jalen Hurts? One of the big criticisms was that he was not enough of a vocal leader. And he allowed other players on the team, A.J. Brown, for instance, to address the locker room. This was a guy that, coming out of the bye week, unsolicited, gave a compliment to his head coach where everyone thought everybody was at odds in that locker room. And he said, we got on the same page. He didn't say airing of the grievances, but alluded to it, and then talked about how great Nick has been since then. I think that was a huge step forward, both as a leader for Jalen Hurts and then on the field, not turning the football over has helped everybody. And also being someone to say, hey, yeah, we should run the football as well. Put me under center. Let's get Saquon Barkley with his legs moving a little bit so we can get even faster downhill off the snap. So I think Jalen Hurts is the guy that I'll credit the most for the big turnaround here by the Philadelphia Eagles. When it comes to going behind enemy lines, this is something we started talking about last week. This Eagles-Dallas matchup is going to be obviously a great one when it comes to raw emotion. And to give you a look a little bit more at those guys playing for the Dallas Cowboys today, we're going to go behind enemy lines right now and talk to it, brought to you by Verizon, excuse me. And Ray, I know you have someone you're looking at right now on that Dallas Cowboy team that you're going to be keeping a close eye on.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking at Jake Ferguson because I think right now, well, for one thing, Ferguson has always seemed to play well against the Eagles. He's always had big games against the Eagles. And over the last several weeks, he's become a bigger and bigger part of the Dallas offense. The last 2 games, he's been targeted 13 times. He has 10 catches. He's moving up the rankings of the tight ends in the league in terms of total catches. And I just think that because of the situation the Cowboys find themselves in today, where the offensive line, to be frank, which used to be a strength of the Cowboys, really isn't anymore. They don't protect the quarterback all that well. And you got Cooper Rush as the quarterback, and I think they're probably going to want to be doing a lot of get the ball out of his hands quick kind of stuff. And to me, that talks about a lot of intermediate routes, middle of the field kind of routes, tight end kind of routes. So Jake Ferguson, to me, is a guy that in this sort of reconstituted Dallas offense, I think he could be a big part of what they're trying to do today.
Evan Ingram, one of the leading receivers for the Jaguars last week, and then before that, Mike Gesicki obviously had himself a heck of a game against this Eagles defense, unfortunately. Hopefully that trend doesn't continue today. Derrick Gunn, who are you looking at on the Cowboys?
Well, I'm going to have to look at the backup quarterback, Cooper Rush. I mean, he's one of the better backups in all of the National Football League. Mike McCarthy said something interesting earlier in the week that I feel comfortable about him coming in and running our offense. Usually when you make a transition from one quarterback to another, you have to alter something in the game plan. But they're very confident that he basically can run the same offense that Dak Prescott runs. He's 5-1 as a career replacement for Dak. If you look at his overall numbers, he has almost 1,800 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The last time he saw the Eagles was back in October of 2022. He was 18 of 38, $181, 1 touchdown, but 3 interceptions, and Eagles won that game 26-17. The best thing that could happen for Cooper Rush in a situation like this, a desperate do-or-die situation, is he's playing this game in his own backyard, so he'll have that comfort zone as well. And he already knows his offense inside and out. He has a relationship already with CeeDee Lamb. They spent a lot of time together during the offseason and training camp. Now, you know that he's going to be the go-to guy next to Jake Ferguson. It's going to be interesting to see how much pressure the Eagles decide to put on Cooper Rush to find out what he can and cannot do early in this game.
Interesting. You talk about the 5-1 record. He's got that one loss courtesy of the Philadelphia Eagles with the 3 picks, 2 in that game, if you remember, were by Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the other Darius Slay. So hopefully the Eagles have even more of that left in the tank going against Cooper Rush today. Seth, who are you looking at in this matchup today?
I'm still concerned with Michael Parsons because he is just that type of player that that can wreck your offense if you don't pay attention to him. I alluded to it earlier. I do not want to see him one-on-one matched up in obvious passing situations against Fred Johnson without a chip or without a tight end over there on that side to at least slow him down. The Eagles did a very good job, have done a very good job over the years of really containing him, not only from the tackle standpoint, but how they run the football at him. The read options that they run at him with the tight end in motion, which puts him in conflict. Do I take the tight end to the flat? Do I take the quarterback? I believe that we'll see that play come back out of the archives today in some way. But he is the one dominant piece on that side of the ball that worries me, that if you don't pay attention to him and he gets revved up, if he's 100%, he's not coming out of that game, Ray, on no pitch count or anything. If he's playing well and he's 100%, he's going to be going 100 miles an hour, trying to get at Jalen, trying to disrupt the passing game, trying to get in the backfield and slow Saquon down.
All right, well, when it comes to the offensive side of things, I know that the Dallas Cowboys are very much banged up. They're without their starting quarterback. And even CeeDee Lamb, the guy I'll be watching today behind enemy lines, is banged up as well, dealing with that shoulder injury. But when you think about the numbers that he's been able to put up so far this season, he is still showing that he's one of the best in the game. And against the Eagles individually, through 8 games in his career, he has seen his Dallas Cowboys go 5-3 against the Eagles in games he has played in. He's got 653 yards against the Eagles in those 8 games with 4 touchdowns as well. I also bring up this name because I think it's going to be another tremendous test, despite him not being 100%, for guys like Quinyon Mitchell, for Cooper DeJean, a guy who's been a great acquisition for this Eagles team through his 4 starts as a nickel corner for them this season in his rookie year. And then you also look at Darius Slay, who's coming off a week of rest, although the groin injury that knocked him out of the game last week. He said he's ready to go for this game, so it's going to be another great test for this Eagles cornerback crew. And Ray, this is something I didn't think we'd ever talk about. Man, how he really nailed it with these cornerback draft picks.
Yeah, it's really true. He's a little bit lucky. He's a little bit lucky that Quinyon Mitchell stayed on the board for 22 picks. I never thought that was going to happen. I mean, to me, just in terms of his value as a player at a cornerback position, I thought he would be maybe a top 10, at the worst 12. But everybody was drafting quarterbacks and wide receivers at the top, so all the defensive players started to drop. And Quinyon Mitchell falls into the Eagles' lap at 22. That's good fortune, but give the Eagles credit for having the nerve to wait it out and not jump and trade up. They get him at 22. And then in the second round, Cooper DeJean is sitting there, and that was where Howie began working his magic, working the phones, and made the trade up to get Cooper DeJean. But you wind up with 2 players there that are immediate starters for you and rebuild you in the area where you needed the most help. I mean, at the end of last season, the Eagles secondary was playing worse than any secondary in football. They really were. I mean, they were just terrible. And so they had to rebuild it, and it wasn't just a matter of scheme. They needed better players. And they went into this draft, and they got the 2 best. So hats off to the GM.
There's another position group as well that I can't wait to break down, and we'll get to it in the next segment here. But talking about those young Eagles corners doing their thing, How about the linebacking core, this Philadelphia Eagles team? We'll break that down, as well as something special that motivates them to get even more turnovers throughout the rest of the season. We'll break it down further when we return here on the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky. Marc Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Ray Didinger joining us for pre and post this week, and Derrick Gunn as well. More when we return. The betPARX Sportsbook here at Parx Casino, located just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia. Taking the game, win yourself some money.
And the next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed.
Has a friend ever told you a story about an accident and someone says,
you should probably sue them.
forget your friend. Call Lehocky Giordano.
We're an injury law firm that's recovered billions of dollars for our clients.
And with our vast network of attorneys throughout the country, we know we can do the same for you.
So if you've been injured in an accident, give Lehocky a call.
One conversation is all it takes, and you won't pay a dime until we win.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the Home Care Program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This is Parks. Parks, Pennsylvania's #1 casino experience. This is how you win.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come, join our team.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
This next segment is brought to you by Lehocky. Welcome back to the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky from Parx Casino in Bensalem. How about this Eagles linebacking core? And they have a little competition going as well. Zach Bond had an interception last week. Also, you know who else did? The guy with the game-sealing interception, Nakobe Dean. At his locker this week, Nakobe Dean was addressing the media, and he was asked about the motivation behind it, and also how the Eagles linebackers are keeping their interception or turnover balls in the linebackers' meeting room. And he said, you know, by the end of the year, we want to know who's got the most balls. Literally. Made sure he threw that literally part in there. But Seth, you played the position at quite obviously a phenomenal level, a Hall of Fame, Eagles Hall of Fame level, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, should be a Pro Football Hall of Fame level as well. But man, when you look at this Eagles linebacking core, I didn't think we'd talk about ever really the Eagles drafting 2 young cornerbacks to help them out so far this season, and then bringing in a guy like Zach Bond, and then obviously seeing the development in Nakobe Dean. What have you made of it so far this year?
You know, it's a remarkable turnaround, but I think it falls on par with how this entire defense is played. Started off a little shaky. We thought and we knew that it was going to take some time for the players to learn a new system, to get acclimated to Vic, and for Vic to get acclimated to him. But the way that these 2 guys have played the last couple of weeks, and I've been critical of both of them, especially Nakobe Dean. They look like they finally, made the turn. Like somebody's flipped the switch. Like all of a sudden they get it. They know where they fit in the run game. They're playing all out. The hardest thing for a football player is when you're learning the system is to allow your natural abilities to be on display. because while you're standing there trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do on each play, the play is going on. Now you're 2 steps, 3 steps behind, and you look like you don't know what you're doing. But when you watch these 2 players play now, they seem like they know exactly what they're doing. They're communicating well. Like I saw something last week in the game where they passed off 2 crossers, and it excited me. It excited me because, in their zone coverages, they both have been guilty of, jumping crosses. And if anybody understands, football, when the offense is sending a crosser across the linebacker's face, they're doing it for a reason. They want you to bite on it so that they can hit the route behind you. Or to get 2 guys on one and another guy running in the zone by themselves. Well, they actually had 3 crosses. The nickel took 1 in man, and they swapped off the other 2. They both stayed in their zone, and they communicated. One took the other one coming, the other one took the other one coming back, and it wound up being a sack on that play. So when I begin to see stuff like that tells me that these 2 linebackers, the light has finally come on for them. They understand what they're doing in this defense. They understand what they're supposed to do, and they're playing with speed. You hear Nakobe Dean on the sideline before the interception last week talking to his coach about the possibility of them running the up and go on him. He got the same exact route that he was looking for and made the interception that sealed the game. So that tells me that they're starting to get it. They're preparing well, and they understand what their job description is, and they're going out fulfilling their role each and every week.
Right. When you think about Nakobe Dean, and you think about Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean obviously slipped in the draft, went to the 3rd round. Disappointing for him. They were talking about shoulder injuries and all that stuff. And then obviously coming into this season, it was whether or not he could take over for a guy like, pass a guy like Devin White, for instance, who was later released. And then you also look at Zach Bond, a guy that Vic Fangio saw play about 20 seconds worth of film at the linebacker position and said, that guy can do it right there. These 2 playing together at the level they've been able to play at so far this year, what's impressed you so much about these 2?
Well, in Bond's case, Bond is one of those players, and you see them in the league all the time, that have a lot of talent. They just need to get in the right system. And he was criminally misutilized in New Orleans, but that's part of the reason why New Orleans is New Orleans, that they have good players and they just don't know how to utilize them. He comes here, they ask him to be an off-the-ball linebacker, and it's a perfect fit for him. And he's been all over the field. Now, Nakobe Dean is less of a mystery in the sense that, he was a great player on a national championship team at Georgia. But I think Seth sort of described it very well. You just see now in year 3, now that he's finally getting a chance to play, all the qualities that made him a great player in college, which was largely instinct and anticipation, recognition when the ball's snapped, where the ball's going to go. And that was what made him so great at Georgia. And until he actually got a chance to play, he didn't trust his instincts to just sort of go to the ball. And now he does. Now he's played his last 3 games, 34 tackles, 3 tackles for losses, 2 forced fumbles, then the interception that seals the game last week. That's the kind of player he was in college. But I think he just needed, 1, to get some experience and get adapted to what the NFL, the speed of the NFL, and the complexity of the NFL. And then the other part of it was just be healthy, be on the field, and then trust his instincts to find the football. That's always been there, but now he's finally got the confidence that he can go out and make those plays. And his improvement has really been a key to the improvement of this Eagles defense.
He talks about confidence, and I always mention it, D. Gunn. Confidence is the number one thing for a professional athlete to embody, because at this level, you wouldn't be here if the coaches didn't think you had the physical tools to get the job done. The difference between bad players and good players and good players and above average players and above average players and elite level players is pure confidence in themselves and what they do. And I think we've talked about it before, but every young player goes through that. I can remember the first preseason game I played in. I walked out. We were playing San Diego. Dan Fouts is down on the other end, and Kellen Winslow is down on the other end. And obviously they're in their last, in the end of their career. But I'm looking down at these guys and I'm asking myself, what the hell are you doing here? How did you get here? And obviously, I got cut the first 2 games of the season. I came back playing special teams. I got a chance to start week 8, and then all of a sudden, there's still that self-doubt there because you're trying to figure it out. You're trying to not only lock onto a difficult defense, but also find your bearings, and prove to yourself that you belong. And I can't remember what game it was, but it's like somebody plugged me in. I had a good game and somebody plugged me in. And like clockwork, in my mind, I didn't say it to anybody else, but in my mind, I was like, oh, man, yeah, I belong here. And not only do I belong here, and not only can I thrive here, survive here, but I can thrive here in a major way. And from that point on, it was to the moon.
Well, you know what? Not so much just players having confidence in themselves. It's on the coaching staff also to build these guys up, As you know, Seth, at this level, it's a very fragile state. No matter where you're drafted, you're always wondering, if I make a mistake, how long am I going to be at this level? A great coaching staff is always encouraging kids, look, man, it's okay. It happens. We're all human. And then once they start making the plays, once they visualize it, things get a little easier. It takes a while and different progressions for every player when you get to this level. But you have to have a coaching staff that's able to identify, okay, he leads a little bit more encouraging than this guy over here and this guy over here. And you look at the better teams, that's what they do. Now, we can joke and say what we want about Nick Sirianni, but the one constant we've heard from players about Sirianni is he is a player's coach, whatever that means. To each team, a player's coach means something different. Whatever it means to the Philadelphia Eagles, they buy into it because they play for this man. No matter how good or how bad it is, they play for him.
All right, now, earlier in the show, we talked about what a difference Saquon Barkley has made for the Philadelphia Eagles, and Lane Johnson and Nick Sirianni, Kellen Moore, as well as Jalen Hurts, making sure that this team is running the football more and more. Ray, we were talking about this before the show, but when you think about free agent acquisitions by the Eagles, and you talk about first season with them, impact-wise, where does Saquon Barkley rank with a lot of the greats that have come here to help the Philadelphia Eagles try to win football games?
Well, we're only halfway through the season, but he is in that upper quadrant. I mean, when I think about in the era of free agency and free agent signings that had a big impact here, I think of John Runyon, who really changed the offensive line. I think of Malcolm Jenkins, who came in and really pulled together that secondary and was the captain of the team that won the Super Bowl, had a huge influence. And I think of Troy Vincent and how his ability to play the corner the way he played the corner allowed Jim Johnson to do a lot of the other stuff that he wanted to do, but a lot of it started with his trust in Troy's ability to play so much one-on-one. Those were my top 3, and probably still would be my top 3. But right now, you have to put Barkley in that conversation because, he has really taken on the personality of this offense. This team has really started to take off when they have committed to the run, and the run starts with him. He is on pace right now. Well, there are 2 things he's on pace for. One good, one not so good. He's on pace to break the club record for rushing in a season, which I thought was kind of interesting last week. They honor Shady McCoy, put him in the Eagles Hall of Fame on a day when Barkley makes the play that we'll all be talking about for the rest of our lives. I thought that was kind of funny. But Shady holds the record for most rushing yards in a season by an Eagle, 1,600.
Wow.
Well, the way Barkley's going right now, he'll blow right through that one. Doesn't even need the 17th game. That's the good part. The bad part is how many touches he has and what the workload is right now. Right now, he's on pace to have 374 touches this year. 374. That's a lot. That's an awful lot. That would be a career high for him at the age of 27, a guy that's had some injuries. That's worrisome to me. And, we were talking a little bit about this week. You've got to play another game on Thursday, a big game on Thursday. Seth and I were talking about on the way up, if the Eagles can get control of this game early, which they could, they're that much better than the Cowboys. Get control of this game early and get some of those guys out of there, especially Saquon Barkley. Have them on the sidelines just drinking Gatorade the second half and resting up for Thursday night. That would be a good thing. But the workload and 374 touches at this pace, that's a concern. Mm-hmm. That is a concern.
Ray, you mean to tell me that T.O.'s not in your top 3, man? I know he was a little disruptive.
Technical trade.
He was a trade.
Technical trade.
He was a trade.
Yeah.
Okay.
For
all right.
Brandon Whiting.
You're right.
If it had been a free agent, I would have certainly had to put him in the conversation, but he was a trade acquisition.
You're right.
Fair enough. All right, when we come back, we're going to make sure that we look at the players that we think we can bank on in this game, and we'll talk a little bit more about, of course, this Philadelphia Eagles team battling the Dallas Cowboys, a team that is, well, admitted by their own quarterback. I'm sure you saw the quote by Dak Prescott. Didn't exactly give a vote of confidence to his squad. We will return here on the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky. The 360 Lounge will be for Thursday night's game against the Washington Commanders here at Parx Casino.
Stick to the code. I'm in my zone. Let's go. I'm back in my bag. I'm wrecking the wins and it's making them.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday. At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the home care program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon. And for every Eagles defensive sack this season, Verizon will donate $100 to the Travis Manion Foundation. I just want to address some people in the chat real quick. Yes, that is Ray Didinger joining us. I don't know who they'd be confusing you for, Ray, but that's the one and only, the Hall of Famer, Mr. Ray Didinger himself. Welcome back to Eagles pregame show, brought to you by betPARX Casino, by the wonderful people of Lehocky as well. Marc Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Ray Didinger, and Derrick Gunn. Gentlemen, before we get into our predictions and our players to bank on, Seth, I'll ask you this question right out of the gate. When you talk about this matchup today for the Philadelphia Eagles, what do you need to see from this Eagles squad going up against the Cowboys?
I would just like to see them get off to a fast start, because I believe if they get off to a fast start, then potentially this game is over by the third quarter, and you can get your key players some rest, knowing that you got a quick turnaround and a tough game coming up on Thursday.
All right, fair enough. Gunnar, what do you need to see from the Eagles today going up against the Cowboys?
I want to see him running right down Dallas's throat right out of the gate. I don't even want to see Jalen throw a pass. I want him to start with like 15 running plays and just bend Dallas backward and make him submit right out of the gate.
Right. That would go against the philosophy that you put out there earlier the Eagles could have, where they got Dallas Goedert. They obviously have Devontae Smith still healthy, and they have A.J. Brown healthy as well. That'd be very tempting to throw the football, but what do you need to see from the squad today?
I would like to see them stay with the formula that's been winning for them. I'd like to see them run the ball. And to Seth's point, get off to a fast start, get a lead, make the Cowboys play from behind. You know, Gunnar was talking earlier about the fact that Cooper Rush is 5-1 as a starter, which sounds pretty good. But the fact of the matter is, when he had to play those games, he was playing with a team with a much better defense and a team that could run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
These Cowboys can do neither. Their defense is not very good, and they can't run the ball at all. So this is really going to fall on him more than it ever has. And I'd like to see the Eagles' defense and Vic Fangio get after him early, maybe force him into some turnovers, and get control of this game to a point where you can get your key players out and get them a little rest before Thursday. But I think, to me, if I had to set a score in this, I would say Eagles 30-17.
You're looking at 30-17.
Yeah.
All right. We'll reiterate that again later. But when it comes to, Seth, I find this amazing. The Eagles got to play in Dallas today, 4:25. They'll get done this game, however it happens, and then they'll get back into Philadelphia, at 3:30 in the morning, something like that? 3 in the morning, maybe? And then they got to turn around and host another tough football team in the Washington Commanders that are in a dogfight right now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. As a player said, you can't play 2 games in one, obviously, but you have a very quick turnaround. How do you manage that kind of schedule when you're talking about back-to-back divisional opponents as well on an extremely short week?
Well, it's like any other game. They can't play the Washington Commanders today. They can only play the Dallas Cowboys. That's the team that's up. That's the team on the schedule. So they better be focused on the Dallas Cowboys and worry about everything else after this game is over. It really is pretty simple. People talk about a trap game. And by the way, I don't believe in trap games. I think that's just a bunch of nonsense because once the whistles blow and, the other team is trying to take your head off, where's the trap? Now, if guys haven't done the work and they haven't prepared leading up to the game, that's a whole nother ball of wax. You can't take any of your opponents for granted. You got to prepare and get ready for each and every team the same exact way week after week after week. But Dallas is what's in front of them. Focus on taking care of Dallas. Focus on getting your recovery and getting healthy and getting ready for the next one. You can't play the other one till you get done with this one.
Gunnar, when you talk about the strength and conditioning staff at the Philadelphia Eagles, do they almost have to go into overdrive on a week like this?
Yeah, you do. Because you're playing back-to-back divisional opponents. You want to go in, and we've talked about this continuously on this show. You want to do damage early and often on this team so you can pull the main guys that you're going to need 4 days from now. You don't want this to be a dogfight like Washington's going through right now with the Steelers down in Washington. You want to be able to let these guys heal up. Every moment that they get to heal up and lick the wounds is beneficial for what's to come, because I'm not even looking at this as a heavyweight fight, but I don't want to look past this team. We did that last week against Jacksonville, and we sat here going, whew, that was a little too close, and one mistake by Trevor Lawrence decided the outcome of that game. Yes, you got to go to overdrive now. This is the point of the season. You have to, every week is overdrive now, because there's no certainties. And you look at what happens week in and week out in the National Football League right now because of the parity across the league and the unpredictability. You can't take your foot off any game right now. So, yeah, overdrive is a very accurate way to describe what they need to do from this point on.
Yeah, I think this is, to me, this is just a basic meat and potatoes kind of game. I would not look for the head coach, I hope, to do anything too exotic here. I mean, I hope. Because, if you have a makeable field goal in the first quarter, kick it, take the 3. Mm-hmm. If you got to score a touchdown, kick the point. Be happy with the point. Don't get too cute with this thing, because you're going into this, you are the better team. You're on the road, okay, I get that. But the Cowboys right now, you have to take them for what they are. They're a team that in terms of matchups, and we always talk all the time how football is a game of match, the Cowboys don't match up with the Eagles at all right now. So you got to take advantage of this. Come out, just do the basics, run the football, get pressure on the quarterback, get a big lead, and take it home.
As far as inactives go for today's game, no surprises with the Eagles, but obviously Dak Prescott not active for today. Deron Bland not active as he's coming back from injury as well. Jonathan Mingo, their juggernaut of a wide receiver, sarcasm, was also not active today for today's game. We do have Micah Parsons up for the Cowboys, as well as C.D. Lamb. When it comes to players to bank on, we'll make our predictions for that when it comes to the post-game show. Seth, when you look at a player to bank on, brought to you by Mid-Penn Bank, who are you banking on for this one?
Can I bank on a position? Because it's just – okay. So I'm going to bank on the right defensive end, whether it's primarily Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham, because the left tackle for the Dallas Cowboys is terrible, and they should have a day today. If Dallas can't run the football and they've got to put it in the air 40 times a day, I look for between the two of them to have 3 to 4 sacks minimum.
Fair enough. Tyler Smith, I think, is getting the start today for them at left tackle. Who are you looking at? Derrick Gunn.
I'm going to go with AJ. Yeah, in terms of he should have a field day. He should be able to run slants all day in the secondary. As I said, Deron Bland, one of the best cover guys and one of the best tacklers, is not playing in this game today. They can't stop anybody. If I'm AJ, I should be thinking I can get it easy 150 yards receiving by the third quarter and call it a day. They have nobody that can basically match up with AJ in this game.
All right. Ray Didinger?
I might say Jalen Carter because I thought he played really good last week. When I watched the film, he played even better than I thought. I mean, they were double teaming him a lot, and they still couldn't control him. It looks to me like he's really kind of hitting his stride right now. And I was saying to Seth, the Dallas Cowboys, a few years ago, when they were really good, the strength of their team, kind of like the Eagles, was their offensive line. Their offensive line, wall-to-wall, was rock solid. That's not true anymore. Zach Martin isn't the player he used to be. The tackles right now, they let Smith go. The tackles they've got playing now, frankly, just aren't very good. I mean, their offensive line has actually become, what used to be a strength, has become a weakness, and I would expect that Jalen Carter should have a big game today.
The guy I'm going to go with is a guy that needs to continue to not turn the football over, and that's Jalen Hurts. If he does everything the way he has been doing over the last 4 games, we're going to be talking about that goal that we established earlier in the show, which was make this an easy game by the fourth quarter. Make this a game where you can rest Saquon Barkley. A lot of that is going to fall on the shoulders of Jalen Hurts because the defense is going to have, I think, and it's pretty obvious, a good time today going up against Cooper Rush. At least they should. If Jalen does everything he needs to do today, cross the T's, dot the I's, and all that, then this Eagles team will run away with a very easy victory today. So Jalen Hurts, I'm looking at you as my player to bank on. If I had to pick one more thing to bank on, it obviously would be the mustache of Derrick Gunn. Because, Ray, since he has grown that mustache back, the Eagles are 4-0. I mean, you can look at all the analytics. It's probably already written on your legal pad.
All right. So if and when they lose, I get to cut it, right?
What?
I get to cut it.
No. What are you?
No. You said the
juju.
mustaches brought them luck. Yeah, it's like Linus's blanket.
They're perfect.
So you're telling me that if they lose, when they lose, I can shave it off.
Some people think Saquon's the security blanket. Others think it's A.J. Brown. It's Derrick Gunn's mustache.
You think it's the mustache?
Without question.
All right. We're going to go with that.
It's science, Gunner. It's science. Don't mess with a winning streak.
Come on, man.
All right, those are our mid-bank players to bank on. Mid-pen bank. As for our official predictions, Derrick Gunn, I'll start with you.
Yeah.
What do you have for the Philadelphia Eagles going up against the Dallas Cowboys today?
As I sized up this game all week long, I just kept saying over and over in my head, blowout. But I sit here and we talk about it, we break it down, I'm thinking, it might be a little bit closer than you think. So on Wednesday, I'm thinking like 35-17. As I sit here right now, I'm going to say 30-23. More respectable game in favor of the Eagles. After watching what they did against Jacksonville in their own backyard last week, now you're going down to Dallas, and Dallas is beat up. They have everything to play for, nothing to lose. They've been embarrassed a lot of games this season, and it's a divisional game against one of their hated rivals. I'm a little nervous.
Oh, boy.
and I emphasize little, but I'm a little nervous.
Even after the mustache talk?
Even after the mustache talk.
Come on.
The mustache told me, D-Gun, stay within reason.
All right.
That's what I'm doing.
I have you officially down then 30-23 Eagles.
Yep.
30-23 Eagles. I am similar in terms of the output by the Eagles in this one, Gunner. I'm going to say 31-17. The Eagles win. I think the Cowboys get an ugly touchdown somewhere along the line and then a garbage time touchdown somewhere. Well, in the fourth quarter, obviously. So I'm going to go 31-17. Eagles win this game. Seth, where are you going?
This is a game that the Eagles should dominate, in my opinion. And if they can get off to a good early start, they've had a couple of games the last couple of weeks right around the 28 to 30 mark. And, the Dallas Cowboys are just not a good football team right now, not confident with so many pieces missing and so much dissension going on. All they need is just that little shove off the cliff. And if the Eagles can do it early, I look for them to walk away with the victory today, 31-14. Again, they'll probably get, some yards and a touchdown, garbage time like they normally do, even with Cooper Rush at quarterback.
Ray Didinger, official prediction.
Well, a couple minutes ago, I said 30-17, and I'll stay with that. I know the Cowboys have home field, and I know it's Jerry World and all of that, but they're 0-3 at home this year, and they've been outscored 119-43. So I don't know that home field advantage really factors into this one. I think Saquon Barkley has never beaten the Cowboys. He's 0-10 career against the Cowboys. I think that streak ends today. I like the Eagles.
Wow. A little bit of history also. I want to reference this. This is courtesy of RJ Ochoa of bloggingtheboys.com. The Cowboys are one of only 2 teams in NFL history that have allowed 415 yards in 5 straight home games.
Wow.
If they do that today against the Eagles, that'll be a dubious honor for the Cowboys to achieve against this Philadelphia Eagles team, and we'll all be rooting for it. And how about this? We all have the Eagles scoring either 31 or 30 points today against the Dallas Cowboys, so let's hope they get into that fourth quarter, and they're very comfortable coming away with a victory today. For Seth Joyner, Ray Didinger, Derrick Gunn. Oh, one more tease. I want to make sure I hit this for you. Giveaways, of course, courtesy of Seth Joyner, Seth Joyner Show, SethJoynerShow.com, Seth Joyner YouTube channel as well. So much to give away when you talk about jerseys, tickets, mini helmets, footballs. Make sure everyone is following at Seth Joyner on Instagram and on Twitter as well. X at Seth Joyner Show, also Facebook.
And A.J. Brown up for this week. A.J. Brown jersey is what we'll be giving away this week.
All right, that is fantastic.
Next week. Next week's post-game show, we'll give it away.
Thursday. This Thursday.
Ooh, that's quick.
I know.
That's a quick turnaround. Y'all better hurry up and jump on social media.
There you go. My name is Marc Farzetta, ladies and gentlemen, with Derrick Gunn, with Seth Joyner, and the great Ray Didinger. He'll be back with us as well when it comes to the betPARX post-game show presented by Lehocky. Go Birds.